Good evening, everyone. Welcome to New Hebrew Missionary Baptist Church for Sunday Funday. It's time for games and Bible study. And so we're going to be talking about family tonight. We've been looking at the book of Proverbs for a while now, and looking in the way we're covering the book of Proverbs, since it has kind of a what I like to call a shotgun approach. It just blasts out wisdom one after the other, and sometimes jumps from one topic to the other. So we're taking it in groups of themes. And as we've looked at several of the themes that are in the book of Proverbs, and the one we're going to look at tonight is about family relationships. The book of Proverbs has a lot to say about the different members of a family, a husband and wife, being a parent, a mom or a dad. It also talks about being children and how to be a good child, a good son or daughter. So we're going to look at that tonight. If you're on, if you will, give me a quick hello in the chat. Let me know it's working. I'm going to try something different tonight with the way the chat's working. And so I don't know if this is going to work well or not. I'm going to give it my best shot. But we're going to let the comments be up on the screen. So if this works correctly, what you type in will show up while we're playing the game. It won't show up during the Bible study portion, but it will show up during the game time, because I always like, that's our whole point of the game is to be interactive, lets you give comments, and I'm usually trying to read them back quickly. And so tonight we're going to try something a little different. So if you type a comment in, it will end up on the screen when we get to our game time. So with no further ado, let's jump right into game time. Since I'm not sure it's working, I'm going to check something real quick. That's why I wanted somebody to let me know that they were there, so I could try to see if it's showing up on the screen or if I have this set up correctly. And so I'm going to go where I can hopefully see the chat in Facebook, and then I'll know if it's showing up or not. Christy, good evening. All right, so it is showing up. All right, I know I have about a 10-second delay, so sometimes when I ask for feedback, it's going to take a while to show up. And then, interestingly, I guess that should be fun to watch how that works, because you'll type it, there'll be a delay getting back to me, and then a delay getting back to the screen, and then back out to you. So I don't know how this will work, but we'll give it a try. I thought it'd be kind of fun just to have your answers right there instead of me trying to read them off. But we're going to be talking about family. So in this family we have right here, we have a husband and wife right there in the middle. We have some children. And we have the husband and wife are therefore also parents, or their mom and dad. So we're going to be talking about those different aspects of being a parent, a spouse, and a child. And so, if you will, okay. All right. If someone on YouTube doesn't mind their message popping up on the screen here, give me a quick hello on YouTube. Let me know it's working for you as well. I don't want to miss any comments, and sometimes I think something's working and it's not, and I end up not seeing stuff. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. So, all right, we're going to jump right into the game. We're talking family tonight. So, first thing is I need you to name a famous... Hey, Carol. Good evening. Thanks for letting me know you're here. Name a famous married couple, a famous mom, a famous child, and a famous dad. So, you can just, type it out, couple, and then tell me who it is, mom, who it is, that sort of thing. You can put them all in one comment. You can put them in separate comments. It doesn't matter. But can you think of a famous married couple, or a famous mom, or a famous dad, or a famous child even? So I'm also, if you don't mind, I'm going to be looking down at my phone from time to time. I want to see how this looks on the phone with those chat comments as well. So I'm going to be pulling it up on my phone and looking at it just for that main purpose as we get into the night, because I'm usually looking at it on my computer screen, and so it's a little bit bigger, easier to read there, and we'll want to see how it looks for everyone else. So I don't know what devices everybody uses, so I just turned it on and audio's coming through. All right. So the difference there is, I'm still waiting on answers to come in, by the way. Big difference there is I have to have my glasses on to look at it on the phone. And yeah, that's readable to me with my glasses on. So, all right. I'm going to quit looking at that so you won't think I'm being rude and ignoring you. It's one thing I always find interesting when you're talking to someone and they're looking at their phone all the time. That can be a little bit rude, can it? But I won't do that. All right, Will, good evening. Good to have you with us. Ozzy and Harriet, okay, a famous married couple. All right. Carol goes with Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, okay. The first couple of country music I've heard them referred to as. Any others coming in? I have several of these, so I don't know how long this is going to take tonight. We'll just kind of we'll stop playing the game if we have to. If it takes too long. So far, it's showing me I've got a pretty decent connection. So hopefully we won't have so much lag that it takes a while to get us moving through these. But anybody think of a famous mom or a famous dad or a famous child? Yes, Christy, they can be TV moms and dads if you want. Although you'll be getting into another question later, but I didn't restrict it. If they're well known, if they're famous, then that's fine. Okay, Carol saying Carrie Underwood for a mom. So going with the country music theme there. All right. Oh, a famous child, Honey Boo Boo. Now that's the little girl that was. Oh, I'm drawing a blank on that show. I think I know who you're talking about. Had like a reality TV show, and she kind of became like the main character there. So yes, Miss Judy, Lucy and Desi, famous married couples. Yes, and they actually were married in real life, weren't they? That's an interesting thing to me. You see a lot of TV couples and people just playing it, but. So yeah, I did not even think of go the direction with famous child there, Carol, going with Honey Boo Boo. That was a good one to bring up. All right, not a lot of. All right, Christy going not TV. I didn't know it was just the TV. So yeah, Prince William and Kate. All right, so they are a famous married couple, getting plenty of TV time and news coverage these days. I guess that would qualify as famous, for sure. All right. So the dads aren't getting a whole lot of love here. Not a lot of famous dads getting called out, but we got a child and a mom, and then we got some couples. So, all right. Next question. You can keep answering these if you are in the middle of it. But next one. Name something this person might carry with them. Well, what's something that a husband or a wife or a mom or a dad or a child might carry with them? And yes, I know husband and dad are the same thing, and a wife and mom are the same thing, but they have different roles. So you can think of it from that perspective. What's something, there are things that a mom might carry that she may not carry before she has children, even though she might be a wife before then. So, okay, Carol's going Prince Harry for dad. I guess building on Katie's Royals theme there, Prince Harry would be a famous dad. Prince Harry. Okay, I didn't know he was a dad. When you said that, I was thinking the other guy. I don't know my Royals. Okay, I'll just leave that alone. Prince Harry. I know William and Kate because they've been in the news a lot, and Harry sounds familiar, but I guess I wasn't picturing him as being a dad yet, so shows how little I know. All right. So what's something that one of these people might carry with them? I'm liking this, having the answers right there pop up. I don't have to worry about reading them off to everybody and missing one. It'll just pop right in. Might be a little slow to pop up, but that's okay. It's right there. So Will going a mom and a dad. Yeah, might be carrying car keys with them. That's for sure. Can't really go anywhere these days without taking car keys with you. Carol, a mom would carry a diaper bag. Yep, definitely that's a required. A dad, a wallet. Yep. Miss Judy's letting me know Harry has a son named Archie and one on the way. Well, thank you for letting me know that, Miss Judy. I had no idea. Archie is the son, has another one on the way. Okay, so did not know that. Phone, yes. Any of these might carry a phone, right? No need to limit it these days. Could be any of these roles would carry a phone with them in this day and age. A child, a bug, yes. Yes, I can see that, carrying around a bug and wanting to show everyone they come in contact with, look at my bug. All right. Any others? Like I say, if you're still typing when I move on, feel free to go ahead and hit it because send it because it will eventually show up. I'm sure there's a little bit of lag here, but I'm gonna go on to the next question. A night out. Where do they want to go? Each one of these. Where does the husband want to go? Where does the wife want to go? Or maybe as a couple, where do they want to go? Where does mom want to go? Where does dad want to go? And where does the child want to go? We're having a night out. Everybody's chipping in on where we should go. Where do they want to go? All right. Yes, the husband may want to go to a football game. That's definitely a possibility there. Just had spring games this past weekend. I don't know if anybody watched any of those, but most of the college teams, at least across the SEC, I'm guessing probably elsewhere as well, had their spring football games to end their spring training. A wife out to dinner. Yes, I can see that. I'm not cooking tonight. I want to go out to eat. A massage appointment for mom. Yes, I can see that. Mom and dad, a nice restaurant. Yep, like we just want to go somewhere nice. Miss Judy got mom goes shopping, dad to the football game, and the children to a movie. Yes, I can see that. That's a good way to do it. Drop the kid off at a movie, assuming they're old enough, I guess, and mom can go shopping, and dad can go enjoy some football. So shopping. Oh yeah, I read Miss Juice. That's supposed to be shopping. I read it as shopping. I didn't even catch that. Mom goes shopping. Yes. That's funny that I read it as shopping. I knew exactly what it was supposed to be, even though the typo was there. The kid, the child wants to go to a toy store. All right, I can see that. And if you're going to the mall or somewhere, you got to go by the toy store, right? All right, Christy's going in with the famous mom, dad, and child. We got Kate Gosselin, Stephen Curry, and the Olsen twins for child. All right, I know two of those three. I know Stephen Curry's a basketball player, and he famously brings his daughter out on court with them when they're celebrating some of their wins and stuff, so I do know that. I do know who the Olsen twins are from TV, and I've heard the name Kate Gosselin. I just can't place where I know that name from. All right. Yeah, the husband and wife could want to go to the movies as well. Mom might want to go to the nail salon. Are you giving me hints here, Christy? Christy sees this as an opportunity, like send Chuck my list. I need a massage. I need to go to the movies. I need to go to the nail salon. All right, we should move on to the next question then. In one word, describe the typical wife, the typical husband, the typical mom, the typical child, and the typical dad. What's one word you think just describes that role, people in that role? Dad, steakhouse. I like that one, Christy. Yeah, that's where Dad wants to go, the steakhouse. Go to Logan's. Go to Longhorns. So what's one word that describes, that's typical of a wife or a husband or a mom or a child or a dad? Oh, yeah, here she's still answering the last one. A child may want to go to the park. That's a good idea. Busy for all of them. Yes, Miss Judy answers them all with one word again. This day and age, everybody's busy, aren't they? Mom and dad are busy. The kids have practice and school and all sorts of stuff going on. So it doesn't matter what role you're in, whether it's husband and wife or whether it's mom and dad or a child, everybody together. Busy, busy, busy. That was pretty good, Miss Judy, because that does cover all of them with one word. What else we got? Frazzled for a mom. Okay, that definitely is a word that might describe a typical mom. Frazzled. Child noisy. That is typical of children. You can definitely tell at our house when the kids are home and when they're not based on the noise level. Christy has one word for all of them: tired. That's true. Going along with the busy, all of them would be tired and worn out. We do keep too much of a hectic pace sometimes these days, don't we? The entire family just go, 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 and everybody's tired and worn out. And so that's a good way to cover them all. Husband and wife, happy. All right. Happy marriage there. That's a blessing for sure. We'll see that in a moment when we get into looking at what Proverbs has to say. All right. Any other words to describe any of these roles? All right. For the sake of time, I'll move on to the next one. Name a fictional husband or wife, mom, child, or dad. Now, you may have named the fictional one with the last one. That's fine. Sometimes fictional characters are famous and well known. And you're welcome to use the same one if you want to point out that it was fictional, or you can go with something different as well. Christy's got a word to describe dad as Bill Payer. That's funny. So yeah, give me a fictional husband and wife, or husband or wife, either one. A mom, a dad, a child. Anybody think of some that are purely fictional? Even though we had some fictional ones in the other. I worded them differently like that just to kind of see if we'd end up with some of the fictional ones in the first round, because famous doesn't imply that they have to be real, just that they're well known, I guess. I haven't been trying to give my answers on these, have I? I should have. I should be giving some of my answers as I go. I always like to wait till I see the answers so I don't give someone else, answer what someone else was already going to say, and then I forget about it by the time we get ready to move on. So, all right, Christy's going with some fictional family, the Cleavers. Got now, did you do that because you couldn't remember their names, or for the sake of typing? Because I know the boys in that family, but I don't know if I could name the husband and wife, actually, other than just Mr. and Mrs. Cleaver. Yeah, it's funny looking at all the people that are commenting. I think we all know who that is. But if we had any young people on here, they might be going, "Who in the world is that?" See if I can get my camera to focus a little better there. Okay. Any other fictional husbands or wives or couples or moms or children or dads anybody got to share with us and come up with? The internet says I've still got a fast connection, so I don't know. People must be typing in some really long names here. Must be. Alright, well, I guess we did get some fictional ones in the other, as I mentioned, and we got the cleavers, so maybe we'll just leave it at that. Alright. May have stumped some people on that one. Because I know we didn't get enough on the last one to have exhausted all the... Oh, here they come. Alright. Oh, Chrissy said I was using the whole family. Ward, June, Wally, and Beaver. Wow. Good job. I forgot about June and Ward were the names of the mom and dad there. I want to ask if you Googled that, but good job. Very good job. So, all right. Well, we'll move on from fictional characters. All right. We're assigning chores. Time to give out who's doing what household tasks. So who's doing what? Who are you going to give what chores to? It's your chance to assign them out based on where you think they should go. Who should do it? Doesn't matter what chore you want to come up with. It can be cutting the grass, taking out the trash, cooking dinner, washing dishes, folding laundry, washing laundry. Well, wow, you could go on and on, I guess, with a list of chores. Vacuuming, washing the car. It's a little too warm for this, but bringing in the firewood. Who are we assigning chores to tonight? Who gets what? Nobody wants to assign any, huh? Everybody's like, no, I don't want to do any chores, so I'm not going to give any to anyone else either. Uh-oh, Chrissy's assigning the husband the cutting grass duty. All right. And I, as a husband, will assign that to child. I always joke about it's one of the reasons they have kids, so they can cut the grass as they get older. Oh, Miss Judy's assigning them. Mom does the cleaning, Dad cuts grass, and the kids take out the garbage. I like that assignment. That makes sense. Oh. She's got them all assigned out in one. We haven't had anybody assign out who's cooking dinner, though. Some days that's the big question, right? Yeah, everybody gets to the end of the day and nobody really feels like cooking dinner, but we know we got to have something. Especially that supper meal. Sunday lunch isn't such a big deal. Christy usually plans it out ahead of time, has everything like ready to go for Sunday lunch. But our evening meals, suppers are a little more challenging. All right, Christy's assigning the wife washing dishes, laundry, sweep, mop, take animals out to potty, cook dinner, blah, blah, blah. I sense a little bitterness there. Mom gets everything. Oh. I won't argue with that. I'm actually going to take a screenshot of that, and I'll take that as, I'll assume that's a volunteering comment there. Kids take out the trash. Okay. This is how it works out here. Jaden does take our trash out a lot. I'll give him that. He's good with the taking out the trash assignment and cutting our grass. All right. Hopefully nobody's still typing. Those are some long comments. Let me see if I got another one here. Oh yeah, they have the remote. What are we watching? So if there's a couple there, Miss Judy says Mom usually cooks. That's usually what happens around here too. It's I will cook on occasion. Like I'm cooking tonight's supper, but yeah, most often Mom cooks. Um, so anyway, they have the remote and they're picking what we're watching on TV. So what are we watching? If the couple has the remote, or if Mom or Dad or the child has the remote. Okay, Carol's got a husband and a wife, Ma and Pa Walton. Okay, there's some fictional husband and wife for you. Didn't think about that. Okay, lost internet. I was wondering because you hadn't commented, so I thought you might have lost the internet connection there. And child, young Sheldon. Okay, so another fictional child there. Young Sheldon's a more recent show. When I was thinking of the fictional child, I was thinking of and I can't even think of what his name is, but the boy in the movies where the family goes off on vacation and leaves him home alone. I was thinking of the boy in that as kind of a fictional child character that does. All right, so or maybe Carol, maybe you were saying the child wanted to watch Young Sheldon. I don't know if that was question that was for now with the delay, but what are we watching? This person has the remote. I can tell you on the child option there, at least the little girl that Christy keeps, if she's there, then we're watching Bluey. So if she has the remote, that's what we'd be watching. All right, Mom wants to watch The Bachelorette. Okay. Mom wants to watch Hunger Games. All right. Child Bluey. Katie was going the same direction I was. Because no big delay. Okay, I thought that was what the case was. Then the more I thought about it, I'm like, maybe that wasn't such a delay. Dad wants to watch football. That is true. If I've got the remote and there's football on, that's what I want to watch. So, Child, Paw Patrol, Puppy Dog Pals. Katie's good with all these children's shows. If you ever pull up my Netflix or whatever and see a bunch of kids shows, it's usually Katie that's been watching those. Miss Judy, depends on the day. All right, if it's Saturday, watching the football games and cooking shows. Yeah, all right. I don't watch any cooking shows. That's I hadn't thought about that. That would be interesting. Something like on Discovery Channel or one of those shows where they have all the different types of cooking stuff. All right, let me see if we got another question here. All right, that was the last question, so let me just back up to that one real quick, give you a chance on that one if you want to chime in anything else. It's about time to move into our scripture part anyway. Hopefully you had some fun with that. I thought it'd be fun kind of see what came to mind, what was the first thing you thought of. And I welcome your feedback on whether you like having the comments on the screen or not. I know it puts a lot of pressure on you because when you're typing on those phones, it's easy to mistype. And how many of us type at least 10 things a day that come out with a typo just because of the autocorrect? Miss Judy says she does watch cooking shows, so she knows how to cook good stuff. See, that's the problem. I should watch cooking shows, but I just don't ever think about it. So, all right, let's go ahead and move into our Bible study. And like I say, I welcome your feedback on whether you liked having the comments up there or not. But there's a couple of themes throughout the book of Proverbs talking about family and home life. And one of the things that it tells us about home life is that that a good home is a blessing. A good home, it's something that we should value. It's something that we should be appreciative of. Something we should work at. Something that we have a part in creating. And so a good home is a blessing, and it takes work and commitments. Proverbs 5:18 says, "Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth." Saying, that having a good home and a good family life is a blessing and something we can really look forward to. It's rejoice. I like that word. Proverbs 22:6 talks about home life and kind of the purpose of home life. Home is really it's a training ground for children. You may not have children yet, or whatever. Or maybe your children are grown, but it's one of the aspects of a home is training up children. And Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Proverbs 1:8 and 9 says, "My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. For they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck." And it's just to be a place to train them. That's what Proverbs 1:8 is saying. Saying we're giving you instruction. Both the parents are giving you things to know and take that to heart and wear it like it's an ornament. And so it should be a training ground for us. Proverbs 24:3 and 4 tells us that a happy home can be our best and most precious possession. Through wisdom is a house builded, and by understanding it is established, and by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. I kind of divided this up into a couple of different roles there because families can look a lot of different ways. And sometimes we go through stages, or we're at certain points in life where it's our role is that of a husband and wife, as spouses, and then sometimes we end up with children, and we end up in those roles of parenting. We're still a spouse, we're still a husband and wife, but now we're also parents. And then there's that role of being a child, and we often don't think about that because we think of the child as just something that comes into the picture, but each of us are children as well. And depending on how old you are and where you're at, what stage of life you're in, if you still have your parents around or not, we still have an obligation to our parents. We'll talk about that when we get to the role of children. I'm not just talking about children. I'm just talking about little children, just young people. We're all children, and we have a responsibility to be good children. So we're going to look at all those. That's what this verse is saying, is that a house, a family, so, what God gives us, whatever situation he puts us in, it can be something of joy, and it can be something that's valuable and precious. And all right, yeah, Carol said RFD-TV for the dad. Yes, definitely RFD-TV. I had just taken the stuff off the screen, so I don't know if that ever made it onto the screen or not. But yeah, so it can be one of our most precious possessions. It also tells us that love and unity are of the utmost importance, far more than any riches. Proverbs 15:17 says, "Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith." We were talking about cooking shows just a moment ago. It's sometimes we cook something that's not so good. Christian and I used to joke about when you're first getting married, the burnt dinners and things like that you kind of go through. And I was trying to make a joke about that as young couples get married and start getting into that cooking aspect. But what Solomon's saying here is you're better off with a dinner of herbs, just a simple basic dinner, something to eat, than you are having a stalled ox. Better than having provisions, better than having riches or means. And he says you'd be better off just having a simple basic meal than to have what everybody seems to think is the thing to have to show your wealth or your means, but have hatred therein. And so that's the way that the Proverbs is looking at it. And Miss Judy says, "I've always been told a happy home makes happy families." That is true. And that's what Proverbs is going to tell us, is that we have a role in making our families into a happy home and into something that is pleasing to God and something that brings us joy. Also, Proverbs 17:8 says, "Better a dry morsel and quietness therewith than a house full of sacrifices with strife." He says you'd be better off just to have something really simple, maybe not the greatest to eat, but you've got a nice, peaceful home, than to have all the things, sacrifices going, all kinds of ability to offer different things, but having all the strife and drama that goes along with it. And I can agree to that. I would much rather be in a loving environment even if we don't have as much, than to have everything or whatever we could want and have drama and strife and arguing and fussing. And I think we can all relate to that. That's what Proverbs is saying, is that we need to make sure that we're focused on what is a good home and do our work to do that. Proverbs 11:29 says, "He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart." It says we should value our homes. We should work to make them better, not trouble them, not create drama, not stir things up. We're trying to create a home here that's peaceful, that's happy, that's pleasing to the Lord. And if we're just trying to kind of stir things up, then it says that we're going to inherit the wind. You're going to end up with nothing. You're going to end up unable to grasp a hold of anything. And thinking about that, our families really provide a foundation for us in everything that we do, and that is just so true. It says, "The fool shall be servant to the wise of heart." Miss Judy says, "If I have butter beans and cornbread, that makes me happy." I can agree with that. That's a good dinner right there. Butter beans and cornbread in a loving home. Not too much better than that. But yeah, let's move right into some of the roles we talked about. Proverbs talks about husbands and wives and their responsibilities. Proverbs 20 verse 6 tells us that a good man is hard to find, basically is what it's saying. It says, "Most men will proclaim every one his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find?" So, ladies, if you've ever made the statement that it's hard to find a good man, Solomon's backing you up there. He's saying that it's few and far between. Men, that ought to be a challenge to us, a challenge to say, I want to be that definition of a faithful man. I want to be one of the few that are committed to my family, that's committed to my wife, that's committed to doing things the way God wants them done. And says it's hard to find. And wives, if you've got a good man, that's an encouragement to you to let them know and to be thankful to God that you found a good man. Proverbs 18:22 says, "Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of the Lord." He says a good wife is a blessing. You have a wife that is good, a wife who takes care of you, a wife who builds you up, a wife who makes you into a better person. You've got a gift from God right there. And Miss Judy says that's so true because I just lost one. That's true, Miss Judy. You know exactly how important it is and how hard it is to find a good man, and what it's like to be able to be married to a good man. Moving on, it says, talking about Proverbs 5 verses 18 and 20, talks about faithfulness in marriage being required. And in fact, all of chapter 5 is a warning against adultery. And this would go well with the topic we looked at this morning. The lady that was caught in adultery and brought before Jesus. But this whole chapter, Solomon is warning his son, saying, you need to be faithful in your marriage. Now, I didn't list the whole chapter, but I wanted to pull out a few of them to kind of just show what he's talking about there. If you want to look at it, there's more to it. Look at Proverbs 5, and it says, let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as a loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? He makes it really clear. He doesn't, kind of tiptoe around it. He says, this is a real problem for marriages, and faithfulness is of utmost importance. And we could go on to plenty of verses where he talks about that. He warns his son about the strange woman, is a term he uses for women that the man might see and be attracted to or desire. And he warns him to rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be the one to satisfy you. Faithfulness is crucially important in a good home. Proverbs 14:1 says, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. If you think about it, wives are often the piece that builds the house up or tears it down. The wife has a role in the home of really creating the atmosphere for that home. And I'm sure if you stop and think about people houses A lot of times that lady, the wife that's running that home, she really points the direction for it. I know the Bible says that the men are supposed to be the leader. We're supposed to be the one to love them the way that Christ loved us. But so many times, and what Solomon's saying here is that a wise woman, she'll build that house up. And one that's not, she'll tear it down. She has that ability to be both either a builder or a destroyer. You know, I find it funny when I saw this because I've always said Christy really makes our home. Christy is really the one that keeps us all on track. She keeps everything going. She's really the glue that just holds our family together and really builds our home. Builds our house, as they put it in Proverbs terms here. And I always referred to her, when she wasn't working, and we always referred to her as a homemaker. You know, some people call it a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife or different things like that. Those to me didn't sound as true. You know, I mean, yeah, she's, I guess, staying at home in that case, but you know, it wasn't like she was, you know, staying away from something. She was here for a purpose, and that was to make our home, to really keep us moving and to take care of the children. So I preferred the term homemaker. And when I was starting to travel for work, I had to fill out some paperwork to get, I don't know if it was a visa I had to get, or when I was getting my passport, or one of those government forms I had to fill out. And so I filled it out, and it asked for your spouse's name and your spouse's occupation. So I just put homemaker on there, because that's what I refer to Christy as. She's a homemaker. She didn't have a job at that time outside of the house. I always like to put it that way too, a job outside of the house, because trust me, being a wife is a job. Being a mom is a job. But you know, she didn't have a job outside of the house at the moment, so I put she's a homemaker. And I got a call from someone who was reviewing this application, and she was asking for some clarity on certain things I'd put in the list. And she said, and one more thing, she said, it shows your wife, she builds houses. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And then it dawned on me, because I didn't remember that I put homemaker. That's just kind of what I wrote, not really thinking that it might be interpreted differently. She said, you listed that your wife builds houses. And I said, oh, well, I put she's a homemaker. And I explained to her, I said, because she's the one that really, you know, she stays at the house. She stays at home. She builds our house. She makes us into a family and takes care of everybody. She's the one that makes this home. And so I thought it was kind of funny that I called her a homemaker. And this lady thought she was a construction mom, I guess. So anyway, but yeah, you know, the wives have that ability to build up a house and to tear it down. So that ought to be a challenge to you, ladies. You know, that you have that power and that ability. Proverbs 14. We were just in Proverbs 14, so that's the same one there. Proverbs 12:4. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. You know, it mentioned before that. In that 14 verse 1, that not only can a wife build up a home, but she can tear it down. And here it's kind of given the same thing, that a virtuous woman makes her husband proud. A virtuous husband is something a husband is proud of and says, you know, takes great admiration in. But then when you have the opposite, when you have that one that's tearing down the house, it's making things worse, it says it makes him ashamed and has rottenness in his bones. So not only is you know, she destroying it, but you know, she's an annoyance, is what it's saying here. Rottenness in the bones. Proverbs 19:3 says not only not only is she a constant annoyance, but it says in Proverbs 19:13, a foolish son is the calamity of his father, and the contentions of a wife or continual dropping. Now we'll talk about the son part of it a little bit. We'll talk about some of the children's responsibilities here. So that's what Proverbs is doing. It's giving different things here at one time. But notice that second part of this verse. Contentions of a wife or continual dropping. And what it means by that is, you've ever sat somewhere and you just heard like a constant dripping, drip, 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 drip. It could really kind of just, after a while, you're kind of like, I got to do something about that, right? I mean, ignoring the fact that if it happens in your house, you got to do something right away because you know it's about to be a big problem. But even if it's not, you know, in your house, even if it's just like, you know, outside or by the window or something, eventually you're gonna be like, I got to go somewhere else. I got to stop this, because it's this drip, 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 drip. That's what he's saying, that the contentious wife, one who's always fussing and fighting, it's like that to him. It just kind of grates on him, and she's a continual annoyance, as I was wording it before. But not only is he that, but it says he also can't be tamed. In Proverbs 27, verse 15 and 16 says, a continual dropping in a very rainy day, and a contentious woman are alike. Again, that same idea I had in the other verse, saying that, if you just keep hearing that drop, 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 that's what it's like to live with a contentious woman. And he says, whosoever hideth her, hideth the wind, and the ointment of his right hand, which bewrayeth itself. He says, you might as well try to just, put the wind in your closet, than to try to, ignore her or hide her, and get away from that. He says, an ointment in your hand, like if you put some perfume in your hand, you can't just close your hand up and say, okay, nobody can smell this, right? If I put some cologne or perfume in my hand and close it up, go, I'm not going to let you smell this cologne, you're going to smell it anyway, right? It's going to get out. That's what he's saying, that this person, this woman, this contentious, is like that. That you can't control her in any way. Miss Judy says it drives you crazy. It does. That dripping will definitely drive you crazy. And I thought it was interesting that that's the illustration Proverbs uses there. Obviously, he's talking about the woman in terms of the husband because he's talking to his son. But that works both ways. We ought to all be looking at our relationship saying, am I doing things to build up my spouse, or am I doing things to drive him crazy? And react accordingly. In fact, the man's encouraged to get away from the woman when she's like that. Proverbs 21:9 says, it's better to dwell in a corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. That passage is repeated again in Proverbs 25:24. Exactly the same wording. Better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. So he says, get far away from her. Proverbs 21:19 is better to dwell in the wilderness with a contentious and angry woman. So you ever heard of sleeping on the couch or being in the doghouse or whatever? Solomon's saying sometimes you need to do that not because you're in trouble, but just because you need to get away from the constant bickering, the constant arguing, the constant tearing down. And so that's what he's saying there. But he also goes on to say that a virtuous woman, one that's the opposite of all that, is worth more than rubies. Proverbs 31 is that passage about the virtuous woman. Again, I didn't do the whole chapter here. I encourage you to read it though. Verses 10 to 12 says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. And that's the value of a good woman, of a wife that's trying to make the home instead of tearing it down. It goes on at the end of Proverbs 31 to say, her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. And so he's again reminding us that there are ways we can conduct our relationships that build up. There are ways we can build our relationships that tear down, and they have impacts on how we view one another, how we interact with one another. And we, as husbands and wives, we need to be working on, how am I interacting with my spouse? What kind of spouse am I? Let's be honest with ourselves. If I fit myself into what Solomon is saying, do I fit into the wise portion, or am I doing things that are foolish? Moving on along, parents. It has a lot to talk about as parents as well. Proverbs 22:15 says, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Training and disciplining our children, it's difficult, but it's really important. We did a series on parenting, I guess about 2 years ago now, on our Wednesday night study. And I tried to bring in a lot of different resources from a lot of different people that talk about parenting from a biblical perspective. But one of the things we need to make sure we keep in mind is that Proverbs is replete with instances of reminding us that we have to discipline our children. And Proverbs 19:18 says, chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare his crying. We'll see that one again in just a moment. But children need our guidance. They won't just find their own way. Proverbs 29:15 says, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. They need our direction. They need our guidance. Proverbs 29:17 says, correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give thee delight unto thy soul. Saying that you're going to regret it later if you don't get involved in their lives and discipline them and teach them the right way to do things. Notice that the passage that I think I skimmed over there for a second, but it said, chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. There's hope. Our children need us to be the parent. because there's only a certain window of time before our instruction doesn't do as much as it does when they're younger, and we need to be disciplined ourselves to be able to discipline them, and not worry so much about, I don't want him to cry, I don't want this. It's an act of love. Notice what Proverbs 3:11 and 12 says. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. For when whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighteth. Again, he's talking here about God correcting us, but notice that last verse there, he's saying the same way that a father will correct or discipline a son that he cares about. It's an act of love. And Mr. Judy says, is that where spoil the child and spare the rod comes from? That is. People will say that phrase, spare the rod, spoil the child. And that's another one of those that sometimes people think, well, that's in the Bible. It's not in the Bible with those words. But yeah, it's definitely, the principle is definitely here in many verses here in the book of Proverbs, that if we don't discipline our children, then they're going to end up spoiled, and we're going to be the worse off for it as well. So it's an act of love. So notice that. Notice also it talks about the rod and reproof. Proverbs 29:15 says, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. Again, talking about if we don't discipline them, we will even live to regret it. But he's saying, the rod and reproof. So there's a time for speaking reproof. There's a time for giving instruction, telling them when they're wrong. There's also a time for applying the rod, applying the harsher discipline. I heard someone one time make the wise statement. They said, parental discipline is advised and recommended for both ends of the child. I think that is true. I think that's what Proverbs is telling us, that there's a time to speak to someone, to a child. There's a time to teach. There's a time to explain things. There's also a time just to apply the discipline, apply the punishment. It's interesting when you look through the book of Proverbs, the how is not really given. It doesn't say, well, do it this time or do it that time or do it here and not there. It kind of leaves a lot of that to the wisdom of the parent based on the individual response of the child. And that's what makes parenting so hard sometimes. And that's what we talked about when we had the parenting classes. It's difficult to know because every child can react differently to different things and need a different amount of direction and correction. But he's still saying it's important for every one of them. As a parent, we have to be willing to do the hard work, willing to do the hard thing, and say, I'm going to find out what works for my child so that they can learn to be a good person, a good citizen, a good member of this society. And the child will thank you later for it. And Proverbs says, you'll be glad you did later. Also, I mentioned it talks about being children. Proverbs 13:1 says, a wise son heareth his father's instruction, but a scorner heareth not rebuke. We're to listen to our parents' instruction. And this is why I like to point out that it doesn't just talk about small children here. He just says a wise son. And he's talking to son because he's talking to his son. It would apply to daughters as well. But he's saying that if we're wise, we'll listen to the instruction our parents have to give us. But scorner, he can't take correction. He can't take a rebuke. Proverbs 15:5 says, a fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. And so obviously we need to listen to our parents. That's part of being a good child. Proverbs 23:22 says, hearken unto thy father that begat thee, and despise not the mother when she is old. We're to love them. We're to respect them. We're to listen to them. So that's what it's saying here. And it also says that failure to do so will have negative consequences. Proverbs 30:17, a very harsh statement here. The eye that mocketh at his father and despiseth to obey his mother, the ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. I think you should put that verse right there in the right on the door of the house. Let the kids all be like, "Whoa!" I'm just kidding, but it is. I mean, that's a harsh statement there, isn't it? It's like the child that just kind of laugh. Yeah, I'm not going to listen to what Dad says. I don't care what Mom says. It says the ravens of the valley will pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. Obviously, he's not talking about literally he's going to bring these animals down and devour us. Or many of us would be walking around with no eyes. But fortunately, we learn throughout our lives and over time. But he is saying that bad things happen to us when we fail to yield the proper listening to our parents. And so that's one of the things he's talking about here. Speaking of consequences, that's eagles plucking, carrying off eating your eyes after the ravens have plucked it out. That makes a kind of like a horror movie there. Proverbs 20:20, whoso curseth his father or mother, his lamp shall be put out in obscure darkness. Again, referring to the fact that we are to give honor to our parents. It says his lamp will be put out in obscure darkness. God will punish us for not giving the proper respect to our parents. Proverbs 19:26, he that wasteth his father and chaseth away his mother is a son that causeth shame and bringeth reproach. The idea of wasting his father means just kind of taking everything that his father has to offer him and using it up. If you think about the story of the prodigal son, that's kind of what he was doing. He was wasting his father. Everything his father had to give him, he said, I want it now. And his father gave it to him. What did he do? He went and he just wasted it all. And that's kind of what this proverb is telling us, that same kind of idea of saying, I don't care about you. I just care about what you can give me, and I want it right now. He says, that's the kind of son that causes shame and bringeth reproach. Not only does it say we're to listen to them, we're to give them respect, but it also says we're to do our part. We're to work with them. In Proverbs 10:5 it says, he that gathereth in summer is a wise son. He that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causes shame. At the task where we assigned out chores, that's what he's talking about here. He's saying, I don't think any of us assigned out who was going to harvest the grain this time. Although, interestingly, if I'd asked that same question probably, 60 years ago, you probably would have had some people that were, they were assigning out chores of who's going to feed the animals, the cows, who's going to feed the chickens, who's going to collect the eggs, who's going to, some of those types of things. But I guess today's world, not so much of that is in terms of chores that get assigned. But it's our children. It's our responsibility to do our part. And obviously, that's one that applies more to the younger people as you're growing up. Making sure that you're doing your part around the house and you're contributing and being that. But again, it applies to us for our entire life, and making sure that we're helping out, that we're being a part of that. So that's what Proverbs has to say about family. Proverbs 28:7 says, whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of righteous men shameth his father. If we, our actions have an impact on our parents. And we need to think about that. What kind of reputation are you leaving for your parents based on your behavior? And Proverbs 10:1 says, the Proverbs of Solomon, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Proverbs 15:20, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish man despiseth his mother. Again, very similar verses there, repeating it over, saying, listen, how we behave reflects on our parents. And we need to take that seriously. Proverbs 23:24 and 25 says, the father of the righteous shall greatly rejoice. He that begetteth a wise child shall have joy of him. Thy father and thy mother shall be glad, and she that bare thee shall rejoice. You look at your life. Your parents, are your parents proud of you, or are they ashamed? That's kind of what it's saying. And obviously, the younger we teach that to children, give them a chance to reflect and direct their life. That's kind of what he's going. But he's saying that our way we live reflects on our parents and even brings them joy or brings them sorrow. So that's what he has to say about home life. Hope you enjoyed that. So I know we went really long tonight. I didn't mean for it to go that long, but hopefully you enjoyed what Proverbs has to say about being home life, being a spouse, being a parent, being a child, whatever roles you're in or associated with. Let's make sure we're doing them the way that God set it out. Hope you all have a great week, and if I can be of help, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I love you all. Have a good week.